Hey, sweetest potatoes. So today we're going to study about enzymes, the ultimate matchmaker. So enzyme as a biological catalyst. So you know that human body is a product of different chemical reactions and process, but who controls these reactions? So in the year 1833, a French chemist named and Anselm Payen, he's a French chemist. So he discovered the vital force which drove the chemical reaction, and he was the first one who discovered the first enzyme, that is diatase as well as cellulase. And after that, a few decades later, Louis Pasteur he concluded that fermentation is caused by some kind of vital force which is present in the yeast, and he called them as ferments. And later, in the year 1877, a German physiologist, William, he coined the term enzyme, which comes from Greek, which means leavened or in yeast. So that is how the term enzyme came into existence. So coming to enzyme catalysis. So you know that numerous organic reactions will be taking place in our body in order to maintain the life process, and these reactions are usually very slow, and these are catalyzed by organic compounds known as enzymes. And you also have to remember that all enzymes are complex protein molecules, and and yeah, so these enzymes are protein molecules which catalyze the which act like catalysts to speed up the organic reactions in the living cells, and the catalysis are brought about by enzyme is referred to as enzyme catalysis. So these are some of the examples of enzyme catalyzed reactions. So the first one is the inversion of cane sugar by an enzyme called as invertase, which is present in the yeast, where the invertase will break down the cane sugar into glucose and fructose, and conversion of glucose to ethanol by zymase. So the zymase will break glucose into ethanol and carbon dioxide, and then hydrolysis of urea by urease. So the urease will convert the urea into ammonia and carbon dioxide. So these are some of the examples of enzyme catalyzed reactions which happen in the biological systems. So now coming to the mechanism of enzyme catalysis. So before going into that, it's good to remember that all enzymes are proteins, but all proteins are not enzymes. And you have a lot of imagine enzyme, see, since enzyme is a protein, so they have long chains. So these long chains of molecules, they're coiled on each other to make a colloidal particle, and it has cavities on the surface. So these cavities are very specific, and they also have a characteristic shape, and it is bound, and it also has some active groups in these cavities like NH2, COOH, SH, and OH. So and these regions are referred to as active centers. So active centers are the ones which have the active groups, and they're specific in structures. So these molecules of substrate which, so you know, the enzyme will go and bind to a substrate, right? So the substrate will have a complementary shape which will fit into these cavities. Like you can just like imagine, like you have a key, the key will fit into the lock, right? And you know that one key you cannot use one key to open all the locks, because the shape the keys are specifically made for a particular lock. So based on this analogy itself, the theory it's itself called as the lock and key theory. And the presence of this active group, uh, so based on that, so you can imagine the lock, the key to be a substrate, and the lock to be an enzyme. So when a proper substrate comes and binds to the lock, that is the enzyme, then the product is formed. Like you can, in the same way like how you can open the door. So the substrate molecules which enter the cavity, it will form a complex, reacts, and after that the products will get out of the cavity. So based on this, Michael and Mendel in the year 1933, they gave they proposed this mechanism of the enzyme catalysis, which goes like this. That is, you can see E refers to as enzyme. So when the enzyme combines with the substrate, it forms an enzyme substrate complex, and then and once the complex is formed, and after some time the products and the enzyme is released. And usually in our system, you know that the enzyme will be recycled each time. So this is about the mechanism of enzyme catalysis. And coming to the illustration of the lock and key model of enzyme catalysis. So here, as you can see here, you have enzyme and then you have the substrate. So the substrate will come and bind to these cavities which are present, that is the active centers. So the enzyme have active centers which have active group, and they also have a specific shape. So when the proper substrate will come and bind to the enzyme, it will come and bind here, and then it will form a complex. So this ES refers to the active complex, that is the enzyme substrate complex. And then, so after the catalysis happens, the enzyme as well as the um, products are so you can the products as well as the enzyme is released. So here the analogy is that when the key it binds to the lock properly, the door gets opened. So yeah, so this model of the mechanism of enzyme catalysis is referred to as the lock and key model of enzyme catalysis. So now we'll learn about some of the characteristics of enzyme catalysis. So the first one is that the enzymes are the most efficient catalysis known. So what does this mean? So in general, that is in if you take the chemistry point of view, you know that enzymes are just like these inorganic heterogeneous catalysis. So I would, if you have not seen the previous video on catalysis where we explained about the catalysis and its types, I would ask you to check that video and then come back to this. I will also link the video in the description, you can check that out. So similar to that of the inorganic, so enzymes you can just when you look in terms of chemistry point of view, these are inorganic heterogeneous catalysis which have unique efficiency and high degree of specification, and enzymes are the most efficient catalyst known. So when you have an enzyme catalyzed reaction, they proceed at a very high rate compared to the ones which are catalyzed by the inorganic substances. If you consider one molecule of enzyme, it can transform about 1 million of molecules of substrate per minute. So that it's very fast. Like it is even faster than the inorganic compounds. So see, in the same way, how these inorganic catalysts work, the enzyme also functions in the same way by lowering the activation energy. So they lower the activation energy. So what is activation energy? So activation energy refers to the minimum amount of energy which is needed to start the reaction. So all the enzymes, what they do is they lower the activation energy so that the reaction can happen faster. So here is an example of the decomposition of hydrogen peroxide. Uh, yeah, and we'll just compare the activation energy which is needed. So without a catalyst, the activation energy which is needed for this enzyme to get catalyzed is about 18 kilocalories per mole. That is the activation energy which is needed. But when you use an inorganic catalyst like a colloidal platinum, then the activation energy is 11.7 kilocalories per mole. And now when you do the same reaction with the enzyme, catalase is an enzyme, then you need very less activation energy, just 2 kilocalories per mole. So you can see that it requires a very low activation energy for the same reaction, which is so less. So that's we can say that enzymes are the most efficient catalyst known. So coming to the second characteristic of the enzyme catalysis is that the enzyme catalysis is marked by absolute specificity. So which means that an enzyme by rule it can catalyze just one reaction with a particular substance. For example, so if you take this example of urea, so urease is an enzyme which is derived from the soya bean and which will hydrolyze the urea. So this urease can only hydrolyze the urea into ammonia and water, but it cannot hydrolyze. As you can see here, it cannot hydrolyze methyl urea. So when you add methyl urea, just a group is added, a small methyl group is added, but still it cannot. Which means that the enzyme is very specific, and it's not just to these type of compounds. And so the compound, you know that the compounds can also exist as isomers, like optically active isomers. So what are isomers? These are like identical in every respect, except that there'll be just a little change in the spatial arrangement of the groups. So the enzyme which act on one of the isomers is unable to act on the other. So this means that the enzyme is very specific. Even it does not even get confused with like the isomers or anything of that sort. So here is a graph which shows how the enzyme will lower its activation energy for the decomposition of hydrogen peroxide. And you can see here, see for the catalase, when you use catalase, the activation energy is the least, that is 2 kilocalories. And when you use platinum, this much energy. And when you use an uncatalyzed compound, it needs a lot of activation energy. So when the activation energy is lowered, the reaction happens faster. So now coming to the third one, that is the rate of the third characteristic is that the rate of the enzyme catalyzed reaction is maximum at optimum temperature. So what this means is that the rate of an enzyme catalyzed reaction it increases with the rise in temperature, but only up to a certain point. Later, what happens is that the enzyme is denatured as the protein structure is destroyed. So you know that all enzymes are proteins. So when you keep increasing the temperature, after it reaches a certain, like when it crosses a certain temperature, to some extent, when you increase the temperature, the activity of the enzyme also increases. But when it goes off the limit, like when you start heating it, just as you like heat proteins, the structure will get deformed. So the enzyme structure will get deformed, and it stops working. Thus, the rate of the reaction will eventually become zero. So the rate of the enzyme reaction with raising temperature, it gives this type of curve, which is called as the bell-shaped curve. And the optimum temperature at which the rate of the reaction is maximum is referred to as the optimum temperature. So this is the optimum temperature. So when it crosses the optimum temperature, the reaction ceases. So to better understand this concept, you know that the optimum temperature of an enzyme usually in a human body is 37 degrees Celsius or 98 degree Fahrenheit. So this is the normal temperature of our body, right? So when the temperature increases, then what happens is that all the physiological reactions will cease because of the loss of enzymatic activity. So this is why when you have fever, when your body temperature is very high, it's very dangerous. So fever is caused because of the immune system reacting and trying to kill the pathogen and stuff. But so you feel very weak because your enzymes are not working at this high temperature. So that is why fever is bad for you. Now coming to the fourth one, that is the rate of enzyme catalyzed reaction is maximum at optimum pH. So the rate passes through a particular pH, and which is called as optimum pH, and the enzyme activity, it is very good at this optimum pH. So in other values, the enzyme activity is lesser, or it is lower. So thus the enzyme many enzymes in the body, they function in a pH which is 7.4 pH, that is the pH of the blood and body fluids, and this is the pH at which the enzyme works its best, and that pH is referred to as the optimum pH. Now the next characteristic is that the enzymes are markedly inhibited or poisoned. So, the catalytic activity of an enzyme, it is often reduced or inhibited or completely destroyed. We can also say it is poisoned by the addition of other substances. So these inhibitors or poisons, what they do is that they'll go and act on the active groups. So active groups on the enzymes. For example, if you add all these compounds like other substances like Ag plus H2, Hg2 plus, they go and react with the SH group of the enzyme and then poison it, and the enzyme doesn't work. So you have like this, it'll go and bind, and the enzyme poisoning will happen, and the enzyme will be inhibited. So where does this come into application is that you know that many drugs are designed ba- based on this action of the enzyme inhibitors. For example, you have these drugs like sulfa drugs, penicillium, streptomycin. They go and inhibit the bacteria. The bacteria's enzyme is inhibited, which is kind of good for you. So because of that, when the bacteria's enzyme is inhibited, eventually the bacteria will die, or it cannot function properly, and thus it has proved effective in curing pneumonia, dysentery, cholera, and many other infectious diseases. So this is how we have used the phenomenon of enzyme poisoning to an application perspective. Like you can design drugs by stopping the bacteria's enzyme, and it will, when you use all these compounds, it will be very specific. It will only go and kill the bacteria but nothing else. So this is how the drug companies have been very successful in designing drugs. And the last point of the enzyme characteristics is that we just like previously we just learned that enzyme can be poisoned or inhibited. Similarly, the enzyme activity can also be enhanced in the presence of some compounds, which is called as the activators or the coenzymes. So you have some of the activators like Na plus, Mg plus, CO2 plus. So these are they go and weakly bind to the enzyme, and they'll promote the catalytic activity. Thus, it is found that if you add a little bit of sodium to amylase, it will make the amylase very active. So amylase is, amylase is an enzyme which is produced in your mouth, like when you chew the food. So when you add sodium, it is seen that when Na plus ions are added, the action becomes even faster. And also non-proteins like vitamins, they are termed as coenzymes, where when the enzyme when the enzyme is present along with the coenzyme, it promotes the catalytic activity. So coenzymes as well as activators will enhance the enzymes activity. And you'll be learning about, you also have a paper on enzymology on in the future semesters, where we'll be studying about each enzyme and the action of each enzyme. The mechanism of each enzyme will be studied in enzymology. So you can just consider this like an introduction to that. And yeah, with this we complete your complete catalysis chapter. And thank you so much for listening. And if you like like this video, please click on the like, it always helps, and consider subscribing because we're keeping this channel. And stay tuned for more awesome science stuff, and there will be something for everybody soon. Thank you so much.